Host of Webcomics Reviews and Interviews. Tonight, Murderboards Rock. So sit back, relax, and let the Geek Fest begin. As a writer, would it not be cool to have some sort of graphical representation of your work so you can look at it real quick and get a general idea of what's going on, or even hone in on particular areas? You'd have everybody organized by organizations. You'd have all the various items and all that. You'd have a timeline that shows you where everything's going, what's going on, and what's happening. And then you'd basically be able to just simply say, hey, I now know what's going on. Would that not be oh so cool? Well, if you watch a lot of police procedurals, you notice they have a thing called a murder board. What this is a big, huge white blackboard that allows the cops or who's ever investigating to keep track of, well, all the suspects, all the victims, all the various clues, allows them to write in information, and there's that really handy-dandy timeline at the top that basically shows everything that went down. On top of that, there is also a yarn that goes from person to person to show various types of connection. Now, when it applies to your own personal works, obviously you've got a lot more options than the police do in terms of how you can display information. And in fact, you're going to be displaying information in a vastly different way than they do, unless, of course, you happen to be doing a murder mystery yourself. And yeah, I'd love to see a cop walk in on this. But what it basically means is that you can set up either on a wall or an actual huge blackboard yourself, or even smaller boards, basically everything that's going on in your story, and just basically go to either the big board or the little boards to figure out exactly what's going on. The reason I'm bringing up the smaller boards is because not everybody has a huge space to set up a blackboard, or for that matter, the money. On the other hand, you can set up the different little boards, and some of them actually are made so they can actually be stacked somewhat. Just make a decision on which way you're going to go with it, and word of personal advice, go with the magnetic boards whenever possible. This is going to allow you to actually shift a lot of information. You're not going to be using pins to make huge holes and stuff later on. With that in mind, if you do go to the magnetic boards, you're going to need the little magnetic stickers to basically allow you to hold stuff up on the board, and that'll also allow you to move stuff around as needed. Obviously, you're going to basically need a huge number of dry erase markers as well. Make sure that you have a huge number of different colors to play with. That's going to help. Lastly, make sure you have pictures of the various characters, items, spaceships, and all that. Basically, if it's important to the plot and you basically need it shown somewhere, you're going to need some sort of picture of it. Once you get all this together, you can start actually organizing. The colored pins are going to allow you to basically show different organizational situations. On top of that, if you have a little bit more interesting things like people belonging to multiple organizations, at this point, just simply throw in multiple heads of that particular person. If you have different people on different ships, you can put the different ships as part of that organization and organize it that way. Obviously, you're going to be able to take advantage of a lot of different ways to organize people, so just have fun with it. Alright, there's going to be different levels of organization depending on what kind of board you have, so keep in mind that this is not necessarily a bad thing. If you don't have the magnetic board, so you're basically using actual pins, you can now use different colors of yarn to show different relationships between different characters. This, of course, can get major chaotic, but let's get real. If you have even a dozen characters with a lot of weirdness going on, yeah, you're going to have a lot of yarn going all over the place. So if you basically want to show the relationships and you don't want to get too caught up, yeah, you might want to go with a more of a cardboard type situation. That's fine. Also, the smaller boards aren't necessarily a bad thing to have a couple of them. Use those to keep track of your various timelines. Have a master timeline that is on the master board, because that's going to seriously save you some major frustration. But keep journals and also keep track on the smaller boards what exactly is going on in terms of various plots. For people like me that have A plots, B plots, running gags, that sort of thing, yeah, we're going to have a couple of different boards just for each one of those different plot threads. And of course, we're also going to basically show where each one of them meets up and crosses, which can get really weird in and of itself, but however you want to organize it. Last but not least, you're also going to have what we're going to call supplementary material for our purposes. This is either an actual notebook or note cards where you have a little bit more information on the people and you can access that really quick. I mean, basically, you just keep the note card carrier right there or the journal right there and basically have a page number relative to that person that's actually on the board. So if you have a really interesting female, let's call her Angelique, you can actually have page 39. I look on page 39, hey, all of your information is right there. So all this does is basically keeps you really organized. I don't advise this if you're doing a really simple comic, but if you're having a little bit more complicated script where everything's getting crazy, where the Byzantine soap opera is just starting to drive you crazy because you can't track everything, then hey, a murder board is seriously going to help. If you're doing something like Game of Thrones where you basically have everybody's doing all this other weird stuff, yeah, again, murder board is definitely going to be help. Anytime you have a really bizarre, intricate plot where there's like 37 different things going on, this might actually save a lot of gray hair. So if you have a couple spare bucks and you don't mind setting up, then definitely look into doing a murder board. This may be something that you and your artist can actually get behind and actually help each other keep track of what's going on. On top of that, you can also track down deadlines, that sort of thing, as well as delivery dates, what stuff when you need to have sent to the publisher and all that. Yeah, you can actually track this on the murder board as well. That way it's right there visible, and you're not going to miss it. So yeah, definitely looking into doing a murder board. It's going to save you frustration and just keep things sane. Thank you. Have a good night.